Hi and welcome back to Baby Doc. I'm Dr. Smita and this is the second part on the vaccination series. I'm sure you found the first part very informative, and in this video I'll be clearing most of the frequently asked doubts and questions regarding vaccination. So let's begin with the first doubt, that is the national immunization versus IAP immunization. Basically, it's government versus private. So is there any difference? Yes, there is a difference that some of the vaccines are not included in the national immunization schedule, which we get in the government setup. Vaccines like pneumococcal and chickenpox and hepatitis A are not yet included, not because they are not important, but because they are a bit costly, and producing them on a large scale can be a big financial task. So it's just a matter of time that one by one all of these vaccines will be included in the government schedule also. In fact, the rotavirus, which was not previously there, has now been started in some states like Haryana. And for those who have financial constraints, I would say that you can vaccinate your child in the government setup with all the essential vaccines, and whatever is remaining can be given in the private setup. This way it will not burn a hole in your pocket, as well as your child will not be missing out on any vaccination too. But in both of the vaccination schedule, the timing of the vaccines, that is BCG at birth or DPT at 6, 10, 14, etc., that remains the same. Now, most of the time it happens that parents do miss out on the vaccination date, or maybe the child is ill and you have to postpone the vaccination by a few days or few weeks. So I would say that it's absolutely okay. You can give the vaccine later date. As they say, better late than never. So do not neglect the delay. But then again, having said that, certain vaccines have their age limit. That is, for example, the measles vaccine cannot be given before 9 months, and these age appropriated doses are based on the years and years of study and research. So for example, if a 2-year-old comes to me who is not been given a single vaccine, will not require as many doses of DPT and MMR as a 6-week infant would. But then again, it's a very specific topic, so it can be discussed with your pediatrician. And what I mean to say is that even if your vaccine is delayed by a few days or few weeks, rather than just ignoring it, contact your pediatrician and set another date for the given vaccination. Now, in the olden times, we had vaccines which used to cause a lot of fever and pain and injection site swelling, and this was mostly a concern with the DPT vaccines. But these days, we have vaccines which cause very little or no fever at all, and very little pain. But as I always tell my patients' parents that injection can never be painless. I mean, if you're injecting a needle into your body, it pierces the skin and muscular tissue, and it will cause some amount of pain, and kids feel it more because they're more active. So a vaccine can be painless, but injection cannot be painless. So, and of course it also depends upon how the vaccine is administered. But these days, most of the vaccines, they do not cause any side effects, and if at all, very few and very rare. So, this question is most often asked by the grandparents rather than the parents. And as I already said, that in the olden times, there were these vaccines used to cause a lot of fever and pain. But that doesn't mean that if by today's vaccine will be less effective. So the presence or absence of fever does not contribute to the effectiveness of a vaccine. Yes, you can breastfeed your child after vaccination. In fact, it's the best way to soothe a crying infant. Now, apart from all these questions and doubts, there are certain things that you also need to know about vaccination. First is that the vaccination should always be carried out in a hospital or clinic setting by trained personnel. Second is you should always observe the child for at least 15 to 20 minutes in the clinic after vaccination. Now, most of my patients come from a very nearby vicinity, so I usually observe them from 5 to 10 minutes, but it should be observed for at least 20 minutes. Third is if your child has had any allergic reaction to any vaccination in the past or has any egg allergy, you need to inform your pediatrician so that care is taken while vaccinating the child. Fourth is we have seen in the vaccination schedule that many of the vaccines are combined with each other and given at the same time. There are certain vaccines which cannot be combined together, and if you wish to give your child one vaccine at a time, like for example at 15 months when you have MMR and varicella and you do not wish to give 2 injections to your child, you want to separate them, there should be a minimum gap of at least 4 weeks. Now, why 4 weeks is because, as I already mentioned, that whenever a vaccine is given, it releases it generates antibodies or protective cells in your body which are stored in the memory, and this process usually takes 2 to 4 weeks. Now, if any vaccine is given before this, it interrupts the process and it decreases the efficacy of both the previous and the latter vaccine. So it's always advisable to keep a gap of minimum 4 weeks. Certain vaccines have a longer gap than that also. And I think these are most of the frequently asked questions that parents come up with during vaccination. But if you have any other doubts, please feel free to ask either in the comment section or in the number or on my number, which I'll be sharing at the end of the video. And I hope you liked the video. Please do like and share on YouTube. And viewers who are in Noida, I want to tell you that since I practice in Noida, I do have vaccination services at my clinic also, so you can anytime come and visit. Until I'm back with another informative video, take care and stay safe.